Hi. So in this third video on pollution control targets, I want to briefly discuss about the economist role in this setting of the emission targets or abatement targets. So in the previous talk, we discussed that how the optimal or societally efficient level of flow pollution and stock pollution depends on the marginal damages and marginal benefits. And in the dynamic case of the stock pollution, we also need to take into account the decay rate and the discount rate R. And it's not very extremely difficult to set this, but anyway, in some sense, economic theory provides us tools to think about what is the societally optimal level of pollution, and typically that's not the zero level. So very often, of course, we have this kind of argument that economists should not really dabble with this setting of the targets, but it's better leave it to the natural scientists, ecologists, geologists, public health experts, and others. And in some sense, that economists should mainly restrict to the role of the how to implement this kind of environmental policies, what would be the most efficient way of achieving those kind of standards, but then ask the natural scientists and medical scientists, health experts, what is the optimal level of the pollution. And this is a position, for example, voiced by Robert Dorfman, who is also economist himself, but I tend to somewhat disagree with this position. So if you think about how this in practice, often these emission targets are set and how these kind of abatement targets are set, then very often it's driven by some other political aspects than economic efficiency. And to illustrate this, I took table 7.4 from the Permanent et al. Book, which further refers to study by Viscusi. And here this relates to the situation in the United States. So there is United States Environmental Protection Agency has applied and of course continues to apply lots of different types of environmental regulations, and according or this study has then estimated that what is this expected number of lives saved per year, and what is the cost per expected life saved. So taking this kind of more economic valuation approach to evaluate that how costly these different kinds of regulations are. So I don't go to the detail. I don't think I necessarily understand all of these different types of regulations so well. But there is, for example, you can see some examples that, for example, third one from the top is this auto passive restraint of belts. So I assume this is like seat belts in cars, and there it has a huge number of expected life saving, and the cost is relatively minimal. So this is, of course, it makes sense to make a regulation that people should wear seat belts when driving by car or as a passenger. But then there are also some extremely costly measures. So I do not know how reliable these estimates might be. But for example, according to this study, the last one, there is the formaldehyde in workplace. So the expected impact in terms of life saved, according to this study, is rather minimal, but it has a huge cost. So if we compare this kind of cost per expected life saved, we can see quite a huge variation in this this table. And of course, if we think about this kind of marginal benefits equal to marginal damage, then this kind of marginal thinking would lead to believe that these kind of policy measures ideally should be targeted so that the stringency is such that this kind of marginal benefit equals marginal cost. And if you think about this cost per expected life saved as this kind of marginal cost, then clearly then these are far from equal to each other. That it can be that these kind of emission targets can be also inefficiently set, especially when set by some government regulator. So therefore, I believe that this is just to illustrate that economists also have a bigger role to play in this kind of setting of the targets. So promoting this kind of thinking of considering the marginal benefits and marginal damage cost, that we would then allocate this kind of emission controls where they are most effective, and obviously this kind of relatively inexpensive measures are obviously like worth taking, but sometimes then policymakers have also tendency to have some extremely costly regulation, which is might have very little benefit in practice. So obviously, of course, we need also information and kind of multidisciplinary collaboration, for example, to find out what is this kind of decay rate. So there is, for example, natural scientists would be needed. We need also like broader societal discussion, what is appropriate discount rate. So it's not, I do not mean that economists should be alone determining this kind of efficient level of pollution. However, also this kind of framework of thinking about it in terms of setting marginal benefits and marginal damages equal to find the efficient level of pollution. This is something where we economists have a lot to contribute in this setting of target. And this is why also in the environmental regulation agencies are also hiring economists to help with these kind of questions. So as the next broad theme, we then go to these instruments. So having decided that what is the target level of pollution, so the next question is, how do we get there, and what kind of policy instruments the government and government agencies can use to get there. See you then.